Hey babes, welcome and welcome back to And Everything in Between. I'm Victoria, your host and guide for navigating the beautiful chaos of your 20s. Whether you're building your dream career, figuring out relationships, or just trying to find you, this is your space for self-growth, real talk, and a little fun along the way. Let's dive into it and everything in between. There comes a time in everyone's life when they ask themselves the question, so what next? Or what happens next? Or what's my next big move? This question definitely comes about during forks in the road when we're going through transformative periods or just looking for the next thing in an area of our lives. And it's definitely come around for me quite a few times. So that's what we're going to get into today. As women in our 20s, where we're quite literally at this fork in the road and faced with this decision, there are so many different factors that weigh into the answer to that question. And it can feel very daunting and overwhelming. But the funny thing is that we will continue to have these forks in the roads and these decisions to make for our entire lives. So we'll get into some ways that we can make this process a little easier on ourselves and how to have a better mindset around this really important time in your life when you have to make a decision for your future. For a lot of us, COVID or around 2020, 2021 was the biggest introduction to this question, or it was for me. With the uncertainty that it brought, I was specifically very unsure of what my next move would be after college. For most of us, there comes a lot of pressure to find the perfect job versus taking risks and going to travel for a year after graduating, or just taking the time to figure your own self out. I mean, if you did go to college after high school, you into this experience having to basically make the decision for the rest of your life at the age of 18. Like for people who want to be doctors or people who want to be engineers, like they make that decision at the age of 18 and have to go through 4, 6, even 10 years of schooling to be able to get to that point. And obviously, we grow as human beings. Our values change, our sense of self and our identity changes. So, this question definitely, or the question of, so what happens next, is really prominent after you're graduating or when you're trying to figure out how you're going to make money that makes you feel fulfilled. For me specifically, the uncertainty of not having a job lined up the months following post grad was definitely very scary. And I came to a fork in the road moment between going to grad school immediately, which was my initial plan, or getting a job in the field that I went to school for. I went to school for international relations, and at the time, I graduated in 2022. So at that time, I really wanted to work at the UN. I wanted to do some kind of humanitarian work, but I was also not really ready to do that because I had just experienced a year and a half of isolation and like change. I didn't really know what the right thing to do was because I felt like I needed more time. And thankfully, and honestly, it was very exciting for me, but I did have experience working in marketing and social media and PR throughout college. And so I decided that I was just going to explore that and see where it would take me. And it was very daunting, to say the least, because the fashion industry, which is what I went into after graduating, there are a lot of people who work in the fashion industry who come from a fashion fashion background, and that's not something that I had. I didn't really know how feasible it would be for me to actually have a job in fashion and be able to make money to afford rent in New York City, but I did it, and I am very grateful for that experience. This experience, I'm still in the fashion industry, and it's been a lot of learning and identity shifting because I knew what I wanted to do for the majority of my adult life, and then that changed, and that's what happens, and you have to be ready and willing to take risks and see where that will lead you, and trust that what your intuition, what your gut is telling you to do, honestly, is it's usually right most of the time. Another part of the career aspect of what happens next, or the question of what happens next, is the reality of job dissatisfaction and being fulfilled. So you may be working in a specific industry, I'll say fashion because that's what I do, and just not feeling like your values are aligned anymore, or feel like you are going to be fulfilled for the next 5, 10, 15 years of your career, or the amount of time that you envision yourself working. And it gets to a point where you're like, okay, wait, I feel this way and I need to do something about it. So what happens next? And that is so real. And I feel like it's especially more prevalent in, I'm going to say our generation because I am a part of Gen Z, but specifically Gen Z, we are very into the digital world. We have seen how people have made millions of dollars with having a life online and existing online, or just doing what they want to do, pivoting into something that they want to do and feeling happy and fulfilled by doing that, and it not feeling like a job because their values align and they're doing what they want to do. And I think it's something that we will, I don't want to say struggle, but it's something that a lot of us will have to deal with. I think the decision between security and money and being fulfilled entirely. And if you work somewhere that you absolutely love and it's your dream, you should consider yourself extremely lucky. And I am so happy for you because it's definitely, it's not something that people get to experience, especially right out of college, or the first like 3 to 5 years out of college. And I want those people to not feel alone in that and understand that their feelings are valid and it's okay. It's completely normal. Another big kind of fork in the road moment that we experienced during this exciting decade is in your love life and with your relationships, romantic and friendship. I think those are the two big ones. I'm like specifically talking to the college experience because it's a part of my experience. But in college, you make these friends who are a part of your very pivotal journey of going from high school to a new environment with new people where you have the ability to be whoever you want to be. And yeah, these friends are the people that you get to choose for the most part. Like they are your chosen family who go through those 4 years with you. And once you graduate college, a lot can change from them. Like it takes a lot of effort to maintain those friendships when you're not all in the same place anymore. And the same is true for romantic relationships. Like you're with your partner all of the time, it makes sense. And then you graduate, you're on different paths, and then you have to put in the effort to maintain that relationship. It really just is true of relationships in general, but in our 20s, romantic and friendship relationships are the relationships that have us like having this existential crisis the most, whether it's deciding whether to stay in the relationship, whether it's leaving the relationship because it just no longer serves you and the person that you are at a specific moment, or whether it's the decision to take things to the next level grow with someone. A lot of this decision making happens because we have experiences and grow over time. And it's important to remember that we are not stagnant beings. We are not people who, I don't know, decide that, or I hope that this is not true, but you're 18 and you decide that purple is your favorite color and it's your favorite color forever. That may be true, and this is probably a bad example, but I don't know. You could go to Iceland and see how beautifully green that country is and fall in love with the color green, and that's your new favorite color. And the same is true with relationships. The point is that we grow and change as human beings, and it's okay for things to change. It's okay for you to question if the thing that you loved when you were 21 is still the thing you love when you're 26. And if that is true, incredible, magical, but change is inevitable. And we do have to decide sometimes if the things that we once loved will be able to continue on with us in our journeys. Another part of the relationship aspect, though, is navigating like heartbreak and starting over. Like I said, like in college, you may have had a college sweetheart who you planned on getting married to, been together for 5, 6 years, and there came a pivotal moment that happened. You break up, whatever. That's another like fork in the road moment where you have to determine, okay, so I had my life entirely planned out with this specific person. That's not happening anymore. So what's next? What happens next? I hope that the person that you fell in love with and plan to marry will be your person forever. But as human beings, we grow so much, especially because our 20s are so formative for us as adults. I remember hearing a quote somewhere, I don't remember where, but it was a quote that was like, your 20s are the toddler stage of your adult life. And that is something that I have to remind myself of all of the time when I'm like, did I make the wrong decision? Am I supposed to do this or that? Or what is the right thing to do in this case? There's no right. There's literally no right thing. It's just what you decide to do. What are the pros and cons of that decision? And do the pros outweigh the cons? Or does your intuition tell you what you should do? And how comfortable are you with trusting it? But we're literally toddlers, okay? And that's something that you need to remind yourself of when you're trying to decide what is supposed to happen next. The last big fork in the road moment that we experience and of course, it's not the only other thing, but another really big one is just personal growth and fulfillment. Trying to find the need for purpose outside of our career and outside of our relationships. This happened for me, honestly, recently. Within the past, I'd say like 6 months, I was working my corporate 9 to 5 job, 9 to 6. And I was like, what else? What am I actually passionate about? What can I be doing towards my passions that will make me feel fulfilled, that will make me like I am actually living life and not just going to work to go home to sleep to go back to work the next day. And that's kind of how this podcast came about. I was like, I need to talk about the things that I care about, and not just with my friends, but like I need to be able to take the things that I'm reading, take the thoughts that I have, take the things that I'm genuinely interested in, and I want to share it with people. I want it to be a topic of conversation in people's lives. I want to help other people learn the things that I have been able to learn. And yeah, that's kind of how that came about for me in the personal growth and fulfillment aspect of life. But there are also times when you're not going to have the answer. Like the answer just may not exist at that time. And it's important to be able to try to make peace with that because, like I said, I kind of want to share the knowledge that I was gaining with other people and be able to help other people. But for a long time, I didn't know how. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know what it would look like. And I didn't think that there really was a way that was feasible for me on a larger scale. And it took some time to come to the conclusion that I love talking and I want to help people. So, how can I do that in a way that makes sense to me? Yes. So, I think finding peace in that, finding some kind of solace in the fact that our answers will come to us when they are supposed to come to us. Yeah, it's important to like think about the question. So, what happens next? Or what am I supposed to do next? But that doesn't mean that you will have the answer immediately. It doesn't mean that the answer will come to you tomorrow. And if you have peace with that, will be like signs and even people along the way to help you get to that point where you have the answer and the answer makes sense to you and it's extremely clear. Something that is really important to mention when talking about this topic of what happens next and having to make decisions, big decisions about our relationships, our personal fulfillment, or our careers is the fear that comes along with making quote unquote wrong decision. I don't know about you, but I am an obsessive thinker. I will overthink decisions, and that overthinking will turn into fear and anxiety, and it may stop me from doing what I want to do. Just thinking about everything that could go entirely wrong and having that overthinking hold me back from actually doing the thing. The myth of the perfect choice is completely wrong. Every decision that we make, every choice that we make teaches us something. And that is the beauty of life. When you're at the moment where you're asking yourself, what's next? And you come to a conclusion, you come to a decision that you're ready to take on, that you're ready to make, that choice, no matter what it is going to teach you something. And that lesson will help you create the life that you want to live. The lesson is different for everyone. And it's important for you to learn it so that you can take steps to living the life that you want to live and making a choice to course correct, to get on a path that is aligned with what you want to do. Because at the end of the day, you don't know what you don't know. So for me, when I decided that I was going to go full steam ahead, work in fashion, I had no clue what that would mean for my future. I didn't know what opportunities would be opened up to me by making this decision. But that didn't hold me back from making the decision. And it allowed me to learn what I actually want to be doing and the things that I am actually good at just by making a choice. You can really build confidence in your decision making process by remembering that and hopefully remove a lot of the overthinking and fear by remembering that there is no perfect choice. Every decision you make will teach you a lesson and make you stronger. I want to share with you some tools for navigating uncertainty around decision making and the big question of what happens next. Number one, this is my recommendation for most things, but number one is journaling. Write down thoughts to clarify what you truly want. So something that I do, like an exercise that I do when I have a decision that I need to make is I will put the topic at the top and then I'll write the problem. So topic, job. Problem, I got a degree in international relations. I love international relations. I thought that I wanted to do this for the rest of my life, but I'm not sure what that looks like. And I'm considering exploring opportunities outside of this field of study. Okay, that's the problem or the question. Then just sit with that. Sit with that question or problem. What are the initial thoughts that come up for you? Is it wait, I'm actually excited to explore other opportunities. I've been in the international relations world for the past 4 years. I need something new. Or is it, I don't know, I don't want to give too many of my own ideas and thoughts. I want you to be able to trust your brain, trust your intuition, trust the feelings that you feel when you look at this question and things start coming up for you. Because at the end of the day, while it's important to use your resources, ask people for advice, you are the person who is going to be living with yourself for the rest of your life. You are the person who you have to blame for the decisions you make. Your feelings and your thoughts about the decisions you want to make matter more than anything. But write down your thoughts so that you can get clarity about what you truly want. And don't just let external factors tell you what you're supposed to do, or let what was supposed to happen dictate what happens now. Number two, talking it out. It is so important to have a sounding board. I have my own personal board of directors. They are the people that I go to when I have big decisions to make and I need support and advice on what they would do and how they would advise me to make this decision in my own context. They really are the people that I trust to help me make decisions. And these people, they are living the lives that I hope to live someday, or they're living in their own incredible truth and they are successful in what they want to be doing. And that is so important. Your thoughts and feelings matter the most, but your sounding board, the people that you ask for advice, should be the people who are where you want to be or have success in their own way. Because while your best friend is someone that loves you so much and wants the best for you, they might not be able to give you what you need because they're not doing the things that they want to do either. So why would you get advice from someone who is not living in the way that you want to be living? You know what I mean? Like, it's important to trust your decision making. Number three, trial and error. Allow yourself to make choices and adjust. Something that one of my first bosses told me that stuck with me to this day. I will always say this to people who are feeling stuck in a situation. She said to me, something that I think her grandfather said to her is that you can always pivot. You can always, always pivot. You are never stuck. You're going to be faced with many choices for the rest of your life. And we are imperfect humans. We are literally biological animals, okay? There are going to be times where you make a decision and you're going to wish that you did something different. All that means is that you learned something and you get to course correct. You get to adjust. You always can pivot. You're never stuck. It's just trial and error every single day of our lives. We are, once again, you don't know what you don't know. And we've been on this planet for not that long. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay for things to not be perfect or for your decision to not be lead you to the outcome that, I don't know, you thought was going to happen. It's just trial and error. Number four, trusting your intuition. I think a lot of people struggle with this. The idea that their gut really can tell you. Your gut is so powerful. Your intuition is so powerful. Like your body, your brain, your heart, they are so powerful. And again, like you are the person who is going to have to live with your decisions, the decisions that you make for yourself. So you need to tune in, look inwards, use your journaling to tap into what feels right for you. So even if your incredible board of advisors or board of directors tells you, all agree that you should do X, Y, and Z, if your intuition is saying the complete opposite and you can't shake that feeling, it's eating you alive, maybe you need to trust yourself. What your gut believes is right, what you feel is right in your heart, because it's your life at the end of the day. And remember, we are all on a journey, and it's important to embrace the journey. Life is a series of of what happens next moments. Reframe uncertainty as an opportunity rather than an obstacle, because you will be able to get better at it over time. I know that, like, when you're deciding whether or not to stay or leave a relationship, it feels like the hardest thing ever that you'll ever have to decide. But when you're 50 and have to make the same decision, that decision will be easier because you did it before. Right now, a lot of us are going through times where we have to make these decisions for the first time ever. We have to decide if we still want to be a doctor 6 years into medical school. And that's hard. But when the time comes again, 20 years later, to make a similar decision, you will be able to make the decision that feels the most right to you based on the experience that you have now. So take action, make the decision, tune into your thoughts, check in with your sounding board, and just do it. Do what you feel is right, even if it's just a small step forward. I want to remind you that you're not alone, and at least one person in your life can speak to what you're going through. Let me know in this week's episode what your current what's next moment is via Instagram or in the comments or DM. And remember that no matter what choice you make, you are always moving forward. Thank you so much for tuning in. If this episode resonated with you or would be helpful for someone you know, please subscribe on Spotify, Apple, or YouTube and share it with a friend. You can also follow the podcast on Instagram at and.everything.inbetween for updates, and you can find me on Instagram at victoria.liverpool. This podcast is sound designed and edited by Misty Avenger. Music for this podcast is The Dude by Matt Large, courtesy of Epidemic Sound. Details provided in the description. Remember, episodes drop weekly on Sundays at 7 p.m. Until then, keep growing, glowing, and remember, you got this.